Hey guys, Dev with Crime Hive, back with another segment of the Letecia Stauch case. And this one's we're learning about the rental car that Letecia Stauch rented and what police found, what kind of evidence they actually found from that vehicle. So we're going to talk about this. And just to go back to the affidavit real quick, what we learned is on January 26, 2020, Letecia ends up picking up her husband from the airport in Denver, and she ends up renting this Kia Rio. So investigators noted that was suspicious because there was really no mechanical issues with her vehicle, which was the Tiguan. And what they ultimately believed was she rented that because there was just so much evidence, blood evidence, all sorts of evidence inside the vehicle that she just couldn't clean up. And she tried to, but she just wasn't able to in a timely manner. And so they believe she parked her vehicle at the airport and rented this Kia Rio. So the kind of evidence that they tried to find from the Rio was interesting. They actually found blood in the trunk. Didn't get a DNA sample from that though. There's just so many people that rent those vehicles that it can sometimes be hard to get DNA and other evidence from those because there's just so many different samples. So they also collected the air filter of the vehicle, and they were unable to recover GPS data and location history, which is what we're going to talk about. Now that's crazy to me because here's the thing. This system right here in a rental vehicle, it's called the Infotainment Center. It's infotainment. I know it's a little weird word, but what that does is it stores all sorts of information in your vehicle. So a lot of these rental companies, if you were to connect Bluetooth in your vehicle, it can extract your contacts, texts, phone calls, social media feeds. I mean, all sorts of stuff. There's a navigation system in there. It starts figuring out places you visited most recently, recent history of places you went, odometer readings. I mean, there's just so much information crammed in that. And so I found that kind of hard to believe that they didn't find that information. The only thing I can think of is that they weren't getting any good solid evidence from the Kia Rio, and they didn't want to spend the extra money to send it off to a forensics lab so they can extract all that information, because it is a very technical skill to be able to do that, and there's a lot of companies that they can reach out to for those services. So and then of course people wonder, well, how are people stealing these cars and things like that? How are they getting away with that? Well, with a lot of these systems, even with the way the technology is, all the technology we have, criminals still figure out a way to maneuver around that. So they're using jammers. That's just a common thing they've been doing. They're using jamming systems. You can buy these online for like $150. They're mobile devices that prevent that data from being stored and intercepted. And so it's just really interesting. But going back to the case here, we know that Letecia tried to clean her vehicle, and they tried to determine with the Tiguan, the vehicle that she was at. They actually tried to determine blood evidence and DNA evidence, and they actually did find that kind of evidence in the vehicle and near the trunk, near the bumper of the vehicle. They actually did luminol testing that tested positive for blood, and there's still a lot of preliminary tests that they're doing with those blood tests that are still coming back from the lab. But they have already located Gannon's blood, tracked back into the garage where the rear of the Tiguan was backed in. So it's just really interesting. But anyway, this segment again was more towards the rental vehicle, and it's just interesting. A couple things I wanted to point out on this again is some of the information that is stored in a rental car. You got to be careful with this, and what I'm pointing out here for everybody as well is if you rent a car, you got to be careful, because the next person that rents that, if you have this hooked up to your Bluetooth and you put your home address in there, somebody can literally find that recent search of your home address, and they can go to your home. So I mean, it basically tracks everything, including Wi-Fi, which you could be driving in this rental vehicle, and the nearby Starbucks that has free Wi-Fi, the signal can intercept that, and they could actually create a longitude, latitude, basically spot that tells you, hey, this is This is the approximate location of where that occurred, and this time this occurred with that free Wi-Fi just by driving by in the rental car. So there's just so many things, you guys. And so I found that crazy that they didn't find that evidence. What do you guys think of that? What do you guys think of that evidence that they couldn't find? What do you guys know about this kind of evidence in vehicles, rental cars, navigational systems that is stored in all our vehicles nowadays? If you guys like this video, subscribe. Again, this is Dev with Crime Hive. Gonna have more in-depth stuff on this because there's just so much to cover. We're gonna do a podcast in the near future with this information, and I hope you guys like it. If you do, stay tuned. We'll be back with another video soon, okay? Thanks.